So, good morning. So, for today's lesson, we are actually still on chapter, I think it's chapter 7 or 8 of our class. We're discussing the development of Asian civilization. So when we started second quarter, we immediately finally get into history. We talk about the beginning of man, we talk about the Stone Ages, and then recently the Mesopotamian region. So the different civilization that settled in Mesopotamia. And it's actually a very somehow long history in Mesopotamian region. Now, in that same chapter, we're also tasked to discuss other ancient Asian civilization. That includes India, China, Japan, and then we have Korea and also Southeast Asia. However, I decided to separate Korea and Southeast Asia. We'll discuss it next meeting. I believe that's tomorrow, next meeting. And then today, we'll discuss the three. Okay. So this is gonna be a lot of information. So I hope you're with me. Okay. So let's talk about first the Indian history or the ancient Indus civilization. Okay. Ancient Indus civilization. So I have an approach in India and China that I will make it really soft and quick in discussion, all because in world history we'll have a more thorough discussion in Indus River Valley and Chinese ancient Chinese civilization. So no need to actually give so much information to that. Today, the majority of our time will be focusing on Japan because after grade 7, in grade 8, you're not gonna discuss Japan any longer. So I want to take this opportunity to just use the lecture this time for Japan emphasis because India and China will be discussed when you're grade 8. Okay, so let's talk about yan, the Indus River Valley. So this civilization that settled in India. So if you remember last time's discussion, Mesopotamia, they have two rivers kasi di ba from the term itself, Mesopotamia. Meso means middle and then Potamia means river. So middle river, the land between two rivers. So that's Mesopotamia. They have Tigris and Euphrates as their river. In this portion of history in the Indian civilization, they actually settled also near a river valley. So that river is actually the Indus River. So along that Indus River, if you will actually look at the map, so that blue line right there, that's the Indus River, who happens to actually be branched out from these high mountains. So the high mountain ranges, yan, may Ganges pa and Brahmaputra in this side. But we're not gonna discuss that river valley, but rather this portion of Indus. So this water right here coming from Hindu Kush, some of it from Himalayan mountain range, all of them drain out going out of the Arabian Sea. So the flow of the water in Indus River is from the mountains and then streaming down to Arabian Sea. So this portion right here is where like the civilization settled. So the Harapan civilization, Harapan, that's why I'm putting N in there. It's because it's adjective. Pero the noun or the name of the civilization is Harappa. Okay, if you're gonna be saying it in noun, Harappa. Pero if it is in adjective, Harapan civilization. The same with India. The name of the country is India. But whenever you're gonna use it as an adjective, Indian cuisine, Indian map, Indian flag, 'di ba? So there's N in there. So same with Harappa. Okay, so the name of the civilization is Harappa. And another civilization is Mohenjo-daro. So Mohenjo-daro is actually a term coined kasi it means actually land of the dead. Okay, Mohenjo-daro means land of the dead. But do not be confused na that civilization was actually could be full of zombies or land of the dead and things like that. It's not really. The Mohenjo-daro, since when the excavator or the what do you call that? The archaeologists rather, the archaeologists discover Mohenjo-daro, they actually did not see somehow a name for that place. So they're the ones who actually named the place. So they named it Mohenjo-daro kasi it looks like land of the dead. Okay, so again, yun lang yung one thing you need to know about the Indus River Valley, that there's two civilizations settled in there, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. So I have here an image of the Harappan civilization and also Mohenjo-daro. So as you see, they have the same, um, actually all of it pala is Harappa, Harappan civilization, all of it. So you see that the archaeologist was actually able to excavate this place right here, and you're actually gonna be seeing some um, house walls that are still existing there, and then there parang acropolis in a sense, parang that high temple located in a highly elevated place. So yan, that's the remains of the Indus River Valley. So as you notice by the image, you'll see that it is a well-planned city. Parang there's a place for this, for people, there's a place for bath, there's a place for granary, there's a place for temple. So by actually looking at the civilization like that there's a certain place for certain thing, you will know that it is an organized civilization, that they have maybe a strong leader that told them, you do this, you do that. So by this artifacts right, by this somehow scenery right here, we're actually able to see about the leadership that their civilization possess. So so these cities live by farming, domestication, animals, and trading. More information about Indus River Valley when you're grade 8. So, yun na yun actually. A very quick lecture about Indus River Valley appearances. And then a short history. So basically, there are already people living in Indus River Valley when the Aryans arrived. So the Harappan civilization and then the Mohenjo-daro, there are already Indians living in there. Okay, may mga citizens na yun, of course, right? Then came their downfall. Some said too much flooding was experienced in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, and others naman said they possibly experienced earthquake or other natural disaster, and some said pa nga suggested that probably civil war. So what I'm trying to say in here is that their civilization crumbled or weakened na lang, their civilization weakened. That's why when the Aryans arrived, the Aryans look like that. Yan. Yan. So when the Aryans arrived in India using the Khyber Pass in here, kasi they're from from Black Sea. So in Europe, they're like European people. So when they actually arrive in India, it's so easy for them to conquer those civilization. It's because they're already in weakened state. Okay, so they entered through Khyber Pass. Aryan and Indus civilization blended and resulted to a unique Indian culture. So aside from appearances, kasi remember in our lecture we have like lecture of the what the South Asians look like. 'Di ba? They're like a bit darker in skin, and then their hair is like really really dark. Meanwhile, the Indians in the north, settled in the north, are like very very Aryan looking, 'di ba? You remember that lecture? 'Di ba? We have their faces discuss. So anyway, that's aside from facial differences, even in culture they blended. And one of the best, not really best, sorry for saying that. One of the unique, yan na lang, one of the unique contribution of Aryan civilization to the locals of India is the caste system. So caste system was actually introduced by those foreigners, those Aryan. So for those of you who do not know the caste system, one thing in India, since their religion is Hinduism and they believe in reincarnation, it's a punishment for them. Like for example, in your present life, you're living a good life. Let's say your family have enough, and then you are like in a good situation, and then let's say you die. And then when you are reincarnated, let's say either you're an animal or you are part of the lowest caste system, which is, let's say, you're a Sudra, or you belong in the Sudra, or you're a commoner, a peasant, or a worker, something like that. It has something to do with what you did in your previous life. Parang that's why Hinduism is like very effective to the Indian people, for them to do good, do better. Kasi they want, when they will be reincarnated, they will be part of the elite family, not on the lower part of the family. So parang the caste system is very important because it serve as like a punishment. The caste system serve as a punishment of your previous deed, of your previous life deed. Okay. However, recently, I think it's like way back the 80s, the caste system in India was actually abolished. So, bawal na siya sa batas in India to discriminate people according to their caste system. However, in reality, even there's a law prohibiting people to discriminate people according to caste, in reality, people in India still have that thing in their heart na they still discriminate lightly, not as severe as before, but they have that certain looking of the caste system. Okay, so the caste system now, it's more on money matters, parang who owns a lot, or about wealth, kumbaga about wealth. But back then, during this time of Indus River Valley civilization, it's more on what you do. What you do somehow makes you classify in a caste. Okay, so if you are not an Indian person, or let's say you have a very somehow job that other Indians see as, you know, as something that they discriminate, they call those people the untouchable, or somehow they're really out of the cast. Parang there are some situations pa nga that they are actually wearing a name tag, that they are an untouchable, so that whenever they're in the market, let's say I'm a kshatriya. So, syempre, parang elite-elite like that. And then I saw someone in the market. That person, especially if he's untouchable, he should have a name tag so that I will not talk to him or talk to her. So, ganun ka-strict the caste system. So, the untouchables are literally the untouchables. You cannot touch them. You cannot talk to them. They're just there. And you should not notice them. Ganun. And then, the real part of the caste is Sudra. They are like the commoners or the peasant workers, servant. And then the Vashya, or the merchants or landowner. Okay. And then Kshatriya, those are like elite warriors and leaders, kings. And the Brahmin is the highest of all kasi they're the ones who connect with their Hindu gods. So sila yung mga priest, like that, the Brahmin, the highest. Okay, so this is actually unique kasi the kings are lower than the priest. In the other portions of other civilization, the kings are always higher than the clergymen. Pero in the caste system, king should submit to the priest. So this caste system is like the contribution of the Aryan civilization to India. With that caste system, connected din Hinduism, their religion. But Hinduism will be discussed in the next lecture. So belief system na kasi yun eh. What we're trying to discuss in here, it's its history. So again, if you will recall, India, China na yan. India has two civilization, early civilization, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. They were conquered by the Aryans. The Aryans presented them the caste system, and now, in present time, those contributions of Aryan is actually very evident in Indian history or Indian civilization and culture. Okay, so that's India. Any concern, question, reaction? None naman. Now we'll proceed to China. Okay, so in China, there's these two rivers that are actually known where the civilization settled. So the river of Huanghu and the river of Yangtze. So Huanghu River and Yangtze River. So there are a lot of dynasty in China. But what we're gonna discuss for today is Shang only. Shang Dynasty. Kasi 'di ba, what we're only catering today is like early civilization lang, like the beginning, parang kurot lang of their history. So Shang Dynasty is believed to be the first dynasty ever in Chinese dynasty. So there's actually a song to that eh. I only learn about the song with Sir Burhel. Yan, if you actually able to speak with Sir Burhel. Kasi before, Sir Burhel taught Asian history. Tapos he's actually singing the song of the Chinese dynasty. I do not know if you know it. Pero Sir Burhel knows that song. Tapos yung kinakanta-kanta niya, that's why he's very somehow confident in telling me na parang, Teacher Jem, I know all the dynasty in China and I will be so surprised. Ako na SS teacher, I cannot actually remember all of that. Pero he can state it through a song. So, yan, if you just want to have, fun time with your math teacher, you can ask him about the song in Chinese dynasty and he can provide you that. Pero anyway, our lecture is Shang, okay, Shang Dynasty. So, as mentioned a while ago, Shang Dynasty is the first. Okay, so it's the first ruling family of China. And they actually, they leave written records to prove that. So it's the people of Shang Dynasty specialize in many different things. So trading, crafts, and even other artistic evidences were actually found. Okay, the capital of Shang Dynasty is of course the city of Shang. Okay, so believers, they are actually believers of spirits of family ancestor. So one thing with the Shang dynasty, they worship their ancestor. So they actually make offering if let's say a relative died soon enough, they will make prayers and offering to their ancestor na guide us, don't let us suffer and things like that. So that's the religion of the Shang people. They also believe in Shangti, the supreme god. That's why their civilization is named after her. So Shangti and then Shang Dynasty. Also, one contribution of the Shang dynasty is the idea of oracle bones. So this is the oracle bone. Usually, they use the scapula of an ox. Parang yung shoulder blade of an ox, or in other accounts they're actually using using the shell of turtles. So they use like turtle shells and also like scapula of some ox. And then what will happen in here is like the shaman. If you actually, kasi oracle bones is used for you to know your destiny, what is upon you. So what will the shaman do? Make some crack. So that's why if you're actually gonna view at the image, may mga crack talaga dyan. And those are intentional crack. Okay, so the shaman will make those intentional crack and then throw it in the fire. So once the bone or the shell is in the fire, it will create even more cracks in there. And then the shaman will get that and then interpret those lines. And then they will start to write something on the bone. And then once they interpret those lines, writing, the shaman can actually predict already what will happen to your future. So that's actually the purpose of oracle bone uh, for the ancient Chinese culture. Also, the Shang dynasty is known for having, of course, agricultural prosperity. They also domesticate animals. They also learn to weave silk. Ito, silk weaving. So silk is actually this like a thread created by silkworm. So it's from worm. Imagine it like really like a thread from a spider. But instead of spider doing it, worms, the silkworms, and then they're gonna gather those thread, thus they're just gonna process it and make it like a cloth. For a long period of time, it became a Chinese secret. Now, when the Europeans arrived to them and wanted to buy those cloth, and then they're wondering how you're able to do it, the Chinese are like keeping it a secret for like thousands and thousands of years. They did not tell anyone how to do silk weaving. They make it as their own product. Okay, pero now of course we know how to create silk. Pero during ancient time, only Chinese able to do that. Also, they're known in ceramic arts. So here are like those here are like those example. Yan. So that's that for India and China. Now brace yourselves because we're gonna be in Japan. Not really gonna be in Japan, but we're gonna be discussing Japan. So inhale, exhale, and this could be done. Kaya natin 'to. Okay. So Japan. Japan is actually viewed themselves very differently. Kasi actually I do not know if any one of you were actually able to go to Japan. Pero some said, according to some accounts, Japan is such a beautiful place. It has a very vibrant appearance. And do you know what's the other calling for Japan? Kasi Philippines is called Pearl of the Orient. Okay, and then Korea is actually called what's the Korea? I forgot the name for Korea. Pero do you know what do they call Japan? Land? Do you know who wants to recite? Yes, Bettina, Roa.
Land of the Rising Sun po.
Correct. Land of the rising sun. So by that statement itself, land of the rising sun, you will actually also have it in its original name. Kasi Japan is not actually Japan. It's actually Japan. It's a Chinese word. Okay, so that Chinese word Japan was actually meaning origin of the sun or somehow where the sun begins. So kaya the label of Japan as land of the rising sun actually originated long ago pa when the Chinese somehow describe Japan in the word Jipen, which means origin of the sun. So that's the beginning of its name. Okay. So the first inhabitants of Japan were actually the Ainu people. So anyway, this is Japan. So, Japan, if you actually look at it in the map, you might be thinking it's a one connected land na hugis J, right? It looks like letter J, right? But it's not connected. Okay? Japan actually has four islands. Okay? So it's not like a one whole land J shape. It's four islands. So the first is Hokkaido in the north, and then Honshu, and then Shikoku, this tiny island in here, Shikoku. The largest is Honshu, largest. And then Shikoku, and then Kyushu. So there's that four islands in Japan. Okay. And here are like the Ainu people, which we actually discussed last time when we talk about the ancient the early people lived in different Asian countries. Yun. So, Ainu settled in the island of Hokkaido, which the one in the north. And then its distance from other Asian countries prevents invasion. So Japanese distance from from China rather, from China and Korea is actually very good for their safety kasi it's really hard to reach them during the early time when boating is actually still no in invention. Okay. So, I'm really conscious kasi with the time na there's 7 minutes. I know 7 minutes still long, but there's still a lot of things to discuss pa for Japan. So, let us restart the Zoom so that it would be continuous in the second portion. So, yeah, I'll end this and then click the same link.